Welcome to Rider Nation Station, presented by American Manufacturing Solutions, your total logistics partner, investing in Rider Nation Station and St. Mary's, Ohio, and to our other fine sponsors.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doug Frye Show. I'm your host, Joe Hurlbert. Alongside me, Doug Frye, and Coach, big win on the road to start the 2019 season over Sidney, 25-22. So a win's a win.
We'll take it. That's
Absolutely.
The first thing. And, we came out with a win, in which is really a testament to the character of our kids, really. They persevered through maybe a tough situation, and there was a lot of things, obviously. As a fan, you saw the same things I saw as a coach that we need to get a lot better on. And but our seniors kept playing, our juniors kept playing, and a freshman blocked the field goal at the end. So just proud of the way our kids played at the end of the game.
Absolutely. Well, in the season opener last week, the Western Buckeye League teams went 5-5 on the week. Salina won, Van Wert won, Shawnee won, of course, Walpock and St. Mary's. Any surprises there as far as last week's scores?
Not really. There were obviously you'd rather come out with about 7 wins because it's going to put more teams in the playoffs at the end of the year. But that's also better than 3. So I think that was a decent day for the Western Buckeye League. I was a little surprised maybe the Kenton Coldwater game a little bit. I thought that'd be a closer game than it was, and might be a real testament of how strong Coldwater is this year. They're pretty good, and I really believe Kenton will be a pretty good football team, if not a very good football team.
One of the things the Rough Riders have done this year, one of the changes that they will see is that they will move up from Division 4 and they'll move back into Division 3, Region 12. Any big significances when you jump up a division?
There's certain things you can't control, and the weather that we're going to run into, the schedule, the way it is. So, we picked up enrollment a little bit, which is good for our school system, good for our community, and obviously different opponents, a little tougher opponents now than we've faced in the past, and puts us in with Wapakoneta, so it's a significant Region 12 game this week also. But no, we're familiar with the region. We were there before we dropped down to 4, so we'll go as we go.
One of the things that I've noticed is, as far as years ago when we were doing the state playoffs, Division 1 teams, there is a significant difference between Division 1 and Division 2, because when you talk about I'll call them the D1 superpowers, the Cincinnati Molars, the Cleveland St. Ignatiuses, the Canton McKinleys, they're almost like small college teams.
They are, and it's just the depth that they have. Football's a collision game. It's a hitting game, and you're going to lose kids with injuries throughout the year, and who do you replace them with? And at the D1 level, they've got more bodies and more good football players to put in there.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more on the Doug Frye Show, and we continue right after this. Whether your goals include college education funding, retirement planning, generating income, or reducing taxes, at Glass Daringer Investment Management, we've got you covered. Stop in and speak with Jeff Daringer or Kevin Glass at 100 West Spring Street today. Glass Daringer Investment Management. Securities offered through LPL Financial. Member FINRA SIPC. Welcome back to the Doug Frye Show. Joe Hurlbert along with head coach Doug Frye. And Coach, let's talk a little bit about some of the changes that has taken place over the years. And we're going to reminisce a little bit. I remember back in the 70s when I played scouting. When you scouted a team, they usually sent the 8th and 9th grade coaches to scout, and maybe it was the next game and the opponent 2 weeks down the road. But then you exchanged films and all that stuff. Now, you've seen that. You've been involved with that. What has been the big significant change to date?
70s, wow. You go back a while. What year did you graduate anyway, Joe?
The 74.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm 78, so I guess we're in the ballpark right there in the 70s. But there has been a significant change. I remember in the 70s there was a lab where they processed the film in our school at Newcomerstown High School. We were one of the few schools that were able to take 8mm tape and actually develop it back there. Usually you had to take it to Columbus. And, of course, I entered coaching in 1981 in the city of Columbus, and then I was at Mount Vernon in 1982. I was the only assistant coach under 45 years old. So guess who had to go to Columbus after the game and sit in a room waiting on the tape to be developed until like 4 or 5 in the morning. So sometimes I don't have a lot of patience when my coaches complain about this and that, because it is a much different day and age now. We went from developing tape and sitting and waiting on it till 4 or 5 in the morning and then driving back and spending a full practice day, whatever it may be, to exchanging 8 tracks and I guess it'd be 8-track and DVDs and all kinds of different things through the years, and you'd have to go meet somebody in a mutual place. And now all of our exchange is done online. We used to send scouting groups every week. We seldom scout anymore because we get 3 games now. So seldom we even exchange rosters and starters with the league teams, and we ODK that, which means offense, defense, and kicking games. So, and there's a lot more study that goes on of film, but a lot less work away from the environment now, and a lot more film work. So we're on a huddle program, which all of our coaches can send a film, exchange film that way. I actually can notify 100 kids of a practice change within 10 seconds through the huddle program. And they can get that as a text message, as an email. So there are a lot of advances that are very, very good, and that's throughout all of our sports. So it's changed immensely.
Well, I can remember when we were excited to get a projector that reversed. We were so excited about that.
Right.
So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about last week's victory over the Sidney Yellow Jackets. We'll do that and more on the Doug Frye Show right after this. Vogel's Bake Shop, making thousands of fresh donuts daily, open 7 days a week with stores at St. Mary's, Salina, and Walpole. Also now found in Wagner's IGA at New Bremen, Minster, and Fort Laramie. Welcome back to the Doug Frye Show. I'm Joe Hurlbert, along with head coach Doug Frye. Coach, season opener on the road. St. Mary's comes away with a 25-22 win. Your assessment of the first game?
Well, first of all, Adam Dunges played for me here, and I texted Adam after the ball game and said, Adam, we're no longer opponents now, so we can start exchanging more information. So I root for Adam, and not just from the standpoint of them winning games to help us down the road, but also Adam is a great kid that played for us here. So it was a tough loss for them, but we'd rather win the game, and I thought our kids played with character at the end and did the little things well, and sometimes you got to win a little ugly, and I would call that an ugly win, but it's still a win.
It's on the win side, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Let's break down a little bit the offense and defense. Let's first of all take a look at your offense performance last Friday night. Ty Slosser, I mean, he's obvious to me in the backfield because this is a kid that just puts forth second and third efforts. He'll carry 3, 4, 5 players down to get that extra yard.
I wasn't here during this time, but they say like father, like son. So I guess that's the way it is from the people that were around. And, of course, I got to be good friends with his grandfather, John, when John and I worked together here at the school the first time around. So, the young man is a character young man, first of all. And second of all, he's a tough football player. So it makes me look like a lot better coach when he's making those runs, but it's really on him. And
I think we have a clip of a Ty Slosser run. Just will not go down. Just
carrying a lot of Yellow Jackets there, and his presence on our football team helped us win this game.
Absolutely. Great surge by the offensive line. Your assessment of the offensive line?
Our strengths coming back were our lines, and mainly our offensive line. We returned 3 of those kids up front, and we've challenged those guys to keep taking to another level each week, and that was a strength of ours. And we lost 2 defensive linemen of those 4 up front, but I thought we were above average there, and it was at times a real strength for us.
Ethan Wedding had a good ball game for you. I think we've got a clip of him carrying the football.
obviously a lot of these kids that are coming along, it's a nice run. He dips inside and takes it back outside, and that's just a natural run. And I like the finish to the run right there, too, where he dipped his shoulder at the end there. A lot of these kids were ball boys for me in the past and been around a long time. So got some sons that are playing for us. I coach their fathers, so they understand what it needs to take there. And he steps around and just runs through a lot of kids, and that's just a run with a lot of heart.
Absolutely. Well, I guess one of the significant things that I noticed on Friday night was the quarterback change. Gavin Reineke came in at the start of the second half. Again, an open enrolled student, and I thought he came in and started things off really well in the second half. That was able to move Dylan Troglin back into the running back position because I think eventually Ty Howell sustained an injury, so he was able to utilize Dylan at running back.
Well, quarterback position is something we're working on, and it's in transition. We really believe that we have 3 quarterbacks that can play that position right now, and we're still trying to figure out which one that we're going to play more. And it could be one of those years where there's a different quarterback in each half, each quarter. You could see Kurt Bupp, who has had a tremendous week of practice. You could see Dylan Troglin. You see Gavin Reineke. Gavin's a young man that actually lives in the St. Mary's district, but had attended New Knoxville and came over with us as a freshman, so he's been in the program. And Dylan, to his credit, is a very good athlete, but a guy that we moved to quarterback that had not played there before. So he's a kid that's been picking up the position, and there's a different dynamic about each kid. So I'm actually kind of excited about the remainder of the year to see which direction this goes and how we end up. There's times right now, too, which, I prefer to be a 2-platoon football team. I think every coach in the state of Ohio would prefer to do that. Obviously, with the change in times and less kids participating in football overall, top to bottom, that it's made it more difficult for teams to be 2-platoon anymore. And but we're right now at times we only have one kid that's playing full-time both ways for us, and we really believe that that'll be an advantage for us down the road.
We have a clip of Gavin Reineke's pass to Carson Fishball for the touchdown. Strong arm.
Gavin, what a throw, right on the money to Carson Fishbach, and we call him Fish. His father played for me, by the way. Played my first trip here, played guard for me, and so it's one of those father-son combos. But here's a young man, Gavin Reineke, whose only experience at the highest level was freshman football, and we asked him to come in the second half in the opening game, in a pressure game, and put that baby on the money right there. Now that it's got to make you happy, and if you look after the play, the way he's celebrating and the way his teammates are celebrating, look at him rush in there at the end. That's him coming in right now behind the play. So an excitement level, and you really feel good for kids when they perform like that.
And what was impressive is the way he set up in the pocket. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't hurried. He set his feet, got his shoulder square, and found his receiver and put it, and like you said, put it right on the money.
Well, I give the credit to the young man, his family, and Derek Dunlap, who coached him through the years. Our assistant coaches have done a wonderful job getting him ready for that moment.
Absolutely. And, of course, Ethan Wedding, we talked about him earlier. We showed a clip of him and his hard-nosed running, and that hard-nosed toughness paid off as he was able to find pay dirt here in the ball game as well.
Yeah, he ran it, but look at the block on the edge right there. See that block on the edge by Fishbach right there and the O-line. And, those running backs, I was a running back in high school, and your best friends better be those linemen right there. Norton on that side right there, Blake Canar, Ward, who we think's a very good tackle at the left side, Devin Shannon, new tight end. And I really believe we can get this O-line sped up a little bit. This is going to be a tremendous offensive line for us all said and done. And, so some great blocking, and Ethan finished the run. Ty Slosser out in front, Patterson at guard, Swigert at tackle. Those old linemen, Allen at the guard, they're the most important people on the team.
Absolutely. Defensively, how do you assess your defensive performance on Friday?
We had moments. I think we put them in some tough situations that they should not have been in. And man, there was some speed on that Sidney team. They could run, and so we had moments. The big thing is in our secondary in that 4-3, those two safeties are so important. And we moved Ty Howe and Tanner Howe in there, and two brothers back there. Right. And so in practice, I'm laughing. I hear them barking at each other in practice sometimes, and trying to challenge each other. But you lost Dunlap and Perry right there at those two safeties. So you talk about two keys to replacing people right there. And Tanner, we moved from the linebacker core back to safety. He's very athletic and very good. So I think you just continue to see those guys grow. I thought the play of the D-line was pretty good, and the play of Schlosser to Mike was pretty good. But just like the rest of the team, there's a lot of room for improvement.
And the defense rose to the occasion when they had to. Here we're going to see a clip of the defense on a fourth down stop.
Lucas Walter on the outside, an experienced linebacker that got some play in the playoffs, number 4, becoming a very good football player, and we just stuff it up there and stop him on a fourth down. Of course, Blake Kennard coming back. Blake's a key guy to have on that defensive front right now, and we're trying to protect the middle first. You got Blake at an end, you got Schlosser at a backer, you got Ty Howe at the free safety. So I think we got some building blocks on the defense.
And of course, Blake Kennard. He's going to draw a lot of attention this year as far as possibly getting double-teamed, possibly even triple-teamed down the road. I think we have a clip of Blake doing some defensive work here. But you can't say enough about him and his presence on the football field, because if my theory has always been, if it takes two offensive linemen.
Yeah, look at him come across right there. Geez, out.
Yeah, that opens somebody else up as well.
That makes everybody else look better when a guy flies around like that. My biggest problem I have with Blake is I got to keep him off everybody in practice is what I got to do. He's ready to go every day, and that's the attitude you want. It's a day and age where a lot of times you're having to try to get guys going a little bit more, and Blake's one of those guys that whether it's fishing or whether it's playing football, he's ready to go. And look at that play right there. And look, I want you to see right in front of there's Tyler Foltz too on the inside. Foltzy is another open enrollment young man from New Knoxville. Bench press is about 370 in the middle there. This is the first time he's ever played football in his life. Really? Yeah, never even stepped on a football field before. And I joked with him through 2 days and told him, hey, you want to make sure you got all those pads in the right place and helmet on the right way. The face mask goes in the front. And we talked about all that. And he's just a good-natured kid that laughs and has a good time with it. And what a work ethic he has.
Absolutely. Enjoys the game. And, of course, the two big plays – virtually, I think, came back-to-back in this ball game. Tanner Howe made a big stop on Quamir Brown.
What a play.
And he just came up and read that and pushed him back maybe 4 or 5 yards to extend the field goal, which will be the next play. But
wow, look at that football play right there. That is a play right there in a crucial moment. What a football play. And Tanner makes a play. Lucas Walters sets it up on the outside. See Lucas come across with a contain right there and sets up Tanner. But great football play.
And I'll tell you what, and he's a sophomore. And that's got to be encouraging because, everything, future looks bright for that young sophomore if he continues to work hard and get better.
Absolutely, and he will. He comes from a tremendous family with tremendous work ethic, and he's got a toughness level to him, and reminds me a lot of his older brother, Dustin, who played for us and started 3 years for us.
And, of course, the big play of the ball game came on the Austin Parks, got a hand on the attempted field goal, and you said he's a freshman.
God makes some of us a little taller than other people, and I never hit that growth spurt yet, but he certainly has. And he's going to get credit here at the end for blocking that. But there was a lot of push in the middle by Blake Kennard and Ward, and actually we've got 2 freshmen up. There's Henkel on the upside right there, right beside him. Number 3, I believe he is, on the upper side, and 2 guys coming off the edge. So they collapsed it, but something here that Coach Yale and our defensive staff has put together and worked on the timing of the jump right there. So part of it's putting your kids in the right place. This is a real good view right here. He gets it on his hand right here, and look, if you watch this, it's going through. It's headed to go through right there. It's headed through right there, and this baby's going to overtime.
Absolutely.
So Parks was pretty excited about that. And as much as he gets, he's pretty calm and level-headed. But look at the timing of the jump right there. Coach Hagemeyer's got to be excited about this because he rebounds like that too. So that's a nice block.
And really, he never penetrated the defensive line. He just took a step or two and jumped straight up and got the block.
Well timed.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at this week's opponent, the Wapakoneta Redskins, right after this. Vogel's Bake Shop, making thousands of fresh donuts daily, open 7 days a week with stores at St. Mary's, Salina, and Walpock. Also now found in Wagner's IGA at New Bremen, Minster, and Fort Laramie. Welcome back to the Doug Frye Show. Joe Hurlbert alongside Doug Frye. And Coach, this week we're on the road again, and we're going to travel east, and we're going to go over to Walpock. And Walpock comes away 28-0 winners over Bell Fountain. You're very familiar with that program.
I've been there before, Wapakoneta, yeah. They wear red, we wear blue, so a little bit different. But a lot of great kids, a great place, great support, two very similar programs. Coach Moyer actually had helped me out a little bit when I was at Bucyrus as a student assistant when he was starting. And then I was a coach at Winford, which is about a mile from Bucyrus, which was the opening game. So we knew each other from way back. He didn't become the head coach at Winford until after I left Bucyrus. That was our opening game every year. So we've known each other for a long time. He does a tremendous job with their program. He's got a great coaching staff he's put together, and they got great kids. Obviously, number 5, number 3, Keck and Miracle, the two guys that jump at you. We threw one pass last week. They threw none. So you talk about similar football teams right there. They've taken an athlete, had been a running back, Miracle, and put him at quarterback, and they played great defense against Bell Fountain. So obviously, schedule man might have been a little kinder to them as they got 2 home games in a row, or we got 3 road games. But again, as I said earlier, you can't control the weather, you can't control the schedule. But I think it's going to be a whale of a game. 2 very good football teams, and irregardless of what happens on either side, there's going to be 8 more games to play after Absolutely. That. So people keep asking me, is this a big game early? Well, yeah, but Sidney was a big game. OG will be a big game next week, and we'll continue on both teams. And it's been tough to get through this league schedule without a blemish somewhere. So it should be a good ball game.
Well, I think Walpock was your lone Western Buckeye League loss last year. To wrap up the season, this year they moved to the top. I think the schedule changes, so they move up to the top. They're your first Western Buckeye League opponent. But the Walpock St. Mary's ball game has kind of become a bigger rivalry than what it had been 15, 20 years ago.
Well, my presence probably had something to do with that, honestly, being in both places. But, I loved my time when I was there for 4 years, and a lot of great relationships, great kids that I've been to their weddings and to graduation parties and get-togethers, and so it was a great experience. But for me, this is home, and our family lives here. So, but I think right now, and I think Travis would tell you the same thing. When you're the head coach at Wapakoneta or St. Mary's and you've had the success that you've had, not to say that this isn't a big rivalry, but everybody's shooting for you on a weekly basis. So the proximity adds to the rivalry. It's been long enough since I've been the head coach there that I believe that's going now, and we continue to move on to the future. But every week's a big week for both of us.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to wrap things up with the Doug Frye Show when we come back right after this. Whether your goals include college education funding, retirement planning, generating income, or reducing taxes, at Glass Daringer Investment Management, we've got you covered. Stop in and speak with Jeff Daringer or Kevin Glass at 100 West Spring Street today. Glass Daringer Investment Management, securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Coach, our final thoughts going into Friday night's game against the Wapakoneta Redskins. What's it going to take for the Rough Riders to put another W in the win column?
Well, I believe this is a game where if you looked at the scores of the game through the last 3 years, it's a low-scoring game. And it's both teams play great defense. Both teams have tough, hard-nosed kids that like the game of football. and we both play possession-based offenses. So special teams are going to be huge. If you look at the last 3 years and you study at the punt game, the kickoff game, have been big factors in the ball game. And, of course, the plus-minus turnover ratio, that's something I'm not happy with right now. It's something we were to the great advantage a year ago, and that hasn't happened yet. So it's going to be just a classic game and more of an old-school game, I believe.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best of luck on Friday against the Walpock Redskins.
You.
That's going to do it on this edition of the Doug Frye Show. For our Rider Nation staff and Doug Frye, I'm Joe Hurlbert. We'll see you next week with more on the Doug Frye Show. So long, everyone.
This episode of Rider Nation Station has been sponsored by American Manufacturing Solutions, your total logistic partner, investing in the St. Mary's community.
Vogel's Bake Shop, making thousands of fresh donuts daily, open 7 days a week with stores in St. Mary's, Salina, and Walpock. Also now found in Wagner's IGA in New Bremen, Minster, and Fort Laramie. Whether your goals include college education funding, retirement planning, generating income, or reducing taxes, at Glass Daringer Investment Management, we've got you covered. Stop in and speak with Jeff Daringer or Kevin Glass at 100 West Spring Street today. Glass Daringer Investment Management. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.